That's right. It's the Walter Bosley channel. And in just a few moments, Maliah will be joining us, and along with our guest, Luna, all the way from Australia. So this is going to be a pretty cool show. Um, we're going to learn all sorts of cool, weird things that. Oh, there she is. Let's see if she's ready. Are you ready? No? Okay. She'll let me know. Give me a thumbs up when you are. And anyway, thought I'd get on here since you guys were all waiting, and I'll greet the live stream folks. Old Gaffer's here, and oh, okay, Maliah was in there earlier. Okay, Billy W, welcome. Johnny Side, Kazzy J, hello Kazzy J. That's a name I don't think I've seen before. So, but then again, remember, I'm not always paying attention to the live chat initially. So if you've been here before, Kazzy J, welcome back. Tim Houston, Philip Blair, D. Dorothy Papineau, and Jackpot. Let me keep scrolling down here. I hope you're all having decent weather on this fine Saturday. And I think I got Ari Babel is here. Hello, Ari. And hey, I got Frankenstein. Hey, you know what? In the black and white, you can see the features on Frankenstein better, I think. Yeah, this was a cardinal sin gift. Drinking some nice, refreshing lemonade. Oh, let me look down. Maliah, thumbs up. Are you ready? Okay, here she comes. And Maliah joins us. Oh, hey, she's got the, wait, you're showing us the back. There we go. That's the Mars Attacks Martian. And I have Frankenstein.
Just water today.
Well, that's what I'm following up my lemonade with, is water. Very hot out here. My gosh.
I agree.
Let's see. I left off at Ari. Bumbleberry is here. Nick N. Baza the Bear. Stephen Van Fossen. I think I'm getting everybody there. Greg Betts. Fractal Dust Bear. Miskatonic Madman. Welcome. Craig Freeman. I got... Yes. I got Stephen Van Fossen on there. Hermie Sages? Sias? Sunward. No, gee, Walter, come on. Where are they? There they are. Like Captain Kirk in The Wrath of Khan. Remember where he's got to put his glasses on to see the command panel while dealing with Khan? Hermie... the screen jumped. Hermes Sage. Sun Warrior. Jocelyn Richardson. And I think I got everybody, and that's good because Maliah's here. Maliah, tell us more about our show and our guest.
Well, Luna lives in Australia. She's a native Australian-born Aboriginal, and she just comes with tons of experience in psychic phenomena, paranormal phenomena when it comes to, I got kitty hair on my face. When it comes to all things psychic, I guess, in a sense, strange paranormal stuff. And Australia is full of these strange places, these places where people go missing, like disappeared missing. They can't find any remains. They can't anything. It's high visibility for UFOs, they say. A lot of people report UFOs sightings there. And let's see, Luna is amazing. She's a spiritual healer. She works with her husband Carl, who they own their own business in Australia, doing spiritual healing and psychic healing for people. Um, so she's really well known in her community for her healing abilities.
Okay.
It's pretty phenomenal what she can do, even long distance. I've seen her work in in people that are in the United States and make big differences in waves in her uh, abilities, basically. So, oh, there's the tiki monster. Walter is telling him what for.
I'm listening to you. I'm sorry. He just did something he wasn't supposed to do. So
Yeah, as usual. As usual, right?
yeah.
But let me go and see if I can find her because she is not in the back room yet. So I'll be right back, Walter. Go ahead.
Okay. I will entertain you. Reminds me, doesn't on one of the episodes of Gilligan's Island, Ginger, I think, is it Ginger or Marianne who sings "Let Me Entertain You"? It might have been the episode where Marianne thinks she's Ginger, and Ginger has to be her or something like that. Which then reminds me of, I don't know if it's the same episode, but the professor is hypnotizing Gilligan, and he says, "When I snap my fingers, you will become Marianne." And Gilligan says, "I will become Marianne."
All right. She is on her way.
She's on her way. Okay, good. Good, good, good. And cool. I'm wearing the Hell's Bells shirt tonight. For those of you who are new here, this is a still, the iconic still image from my silent film, my 2012 silent film, Hell's Bells, which is here on the channel. Go down through the old videos. It's not in the lives, it's in the old videos, and look for Hell's Bells. It's only about 39 minutes. I think you'll find it interesting, entertaining at least, worth watching once. Kind of almost as entertaining as my need of a haircut.
I disagree. We only need haircuts like once every 5 years, right?
Yeah.
No, I'm not. I'm kidding. I'm totally kidding.
I think I've got the Gumby going. I usually try to go for the David Lynch, but I think I've got the Gumby going, kind of like the one angle. So,
yeah.
Yes, Charles. Charles likes the shirt.
Hmm.
You guys, hey, if any of you are interested in the shirt, I can get up the link. I'm trying to remember, but you can buy one of these exact shirts or a hoodie or what have you. It is available out there. I forget. I'm doing a brain dump on what the link is, but some of you have bought this shirt. But yeah, this is an iconic shirt. This interesting stuff. Now, what do you know, Maliah, about Weird Australia in your studies?
I have a lot of fun with the cryptids in Australia. Like one very rather famous but kind of unknown one is, I mean, it's famous in Australia, is the Bunyip. And the Bunyip is a creature that lives in the bush in the kind of waterways. They believe it's a creature that kind of can go between water and land. Um, and it's fearsome. It has these giant teeth. It crawls on all fours.
Cool.
It's like a mix of alligator with demon or something. It's
Wow.
crazy weird, and it lets out this howling shriek at night. The natives say there that it's a very distinctive kind of scream, kind of like a banshee a little bit.
I was thinking that when you said
Yeah, it's like a banshee scream. Um, so their cryptids are just wild. Um, they have, I believe, that our form of the Sasquatch actually came from Australia, uh, where they originated. I believe they originated there, and that they still have quite a bit of like Bigfoot or Sasquatch, big man type of sightings, wild people that have inhuman strength and abilities throughout that place.
yeah.
So I really enjoy the cryptids of Australia. They have some very unique ones that a lot of the other countries can't claim.
Right. Oh, yeah. They have just a recognized zoology and all their own, really. Um, Now, a song that has always given me an eerie feeling for some reason, and I maybe Luna certainly will be able. She just popped in here, but the song "Waltzing Matilda." What is that song about?
I'm not sure I know that song. Can you sing it for us?
Everybody knows "Waltzing Matilda." Oh, I can't do that on demand.
Yeah, my Luna.
There she is. There's Luna.
Hey, can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Waltzing Matilda, waltzing Matilda, waltzing Matilda.
Okay, now I know that song.
Luna,
Yeah.
what's that song about?
I think it's about in the war walking. I'm not 100% sure actually because it's the last generation. But yeah, it's got something to do with World War II and you'll come a walking with me. That's how it goes. Waltzing Matilda, you'll come a walking with me. Yeah, I think it's to do with that era.
Okay, because it has kind of a spooky thread in there. I always thought, because I learned that song in 4th grade here in the States. We learned it in music class, and you're all this billabong and coolabong tree and all this.
Oh yeah.
Company.
That's a different song.
It just it was just fun words to say, and to sing. So, but it had kind of a spooky thing. So.
Yeah, a lot of them are. They've got spooky kind of things behind them, or just things you don't expect. That's
Maliah just told us about the monster with the big teeth and
the Bunyip. Our favorite. Yeah. Good. Give him a better description because mine kind of sucked at it.
Okay, so there's a few descriptions over the history. If I had all my tech going, I could go click, click, click and show you all these pictures, but I'm not prepared for that. So some people call it a water dog because they reckon it looks like some kind of dog that comes out of the water. Others say it looks more like a big frog-looking thing. What we do know is that it lives in water holes and it'll get you, leech you. So I feel a lot of our animals are left over from another time, and I feel that's one of them. Another time they're still existing somewhere because it's pretty remote out here. I believe they still are somewhere out there. But as we go back in time, there would have been more of them. Like even in Europe, you had all your cryptids in Europe that are hard to find now, but there's trails of them, and they'd be out there because we're not everywhere. But the Bunyip, you've got to watch out for.
Cool. What's the scariest weird creature there? Is it the Bunyip or are there others?
No, I'll say they're all kind of equal. I know. It's like saying to you, what's the scariest meat eater there? Is it the bear or the
Well, even the kangaroos. I see these pictures, these videos of these kangaroos that are all buff and they beat the hell out of people. I'm like, man.
The big reds. Yeah, the big reds that as you go closer to the desert, they get bigger. And they're really tall, like 6 foot something tall when they stand up. And they're so buff. They're more buff and muscly than some men I know. And they can fight. They're very good fighters, yes. I've seen men try to take them on, and it's like, no, because once they get on their back tail and that's it, they got the advantage, yeah. But they're beautiful animals, the kangaroos. They're small. We've got this from the really small ones to the big ones. They are beautiful animals. But like all animals, you've got to be careful, even though they're friendly, yeah. We used to have giant kangaroos back in history. There's places called Valley of the Giant Kangaroos and that. And for anyone that can see, if you walk the land and you come across a place like that, you'll look up and you will see giant kangaroos and you'll think it's like a crossover in time. And yeah, and they're huge, huge, huge.
Whoa, like as tall as giraffes, something like that, or
yeah, very, very
Wow.
big.
wow.
We have stories about them, the big kangaroos, and about our white ochre and how we needed to go hunting on another side of a paddock, but the big kangaroos were there and they'd stomp on you and eat you. And Creator told us if we covered ourselves in white ochre, we'd be invisible and we could walk through them, and that's what the mob did. They covered themselves in white ochre and walked through the giant kangaroos.
Okay.
Wow.
Maliah, take the mic. I have to put a dog in another room.
Yeah, you do. He's
Hello.
naughty pants. Little
Oh,
Tiki.
oh,
He's trying to steal the show, as usual.
yeah.
But we were hoping to kind of get into some of the strange and paranormal places too.
Yeah.
Do you want to open us up on that one, or should I?
I'm just going to actually open some stuff up because
I'm going to switch
found a
places.
few little things that might be
There we go.
interesting. Excuse me while I do a bit of tech stuff. I'm really bad.
No, you're totally fine. It's a regular occurrence around here. It's like, everybody just sit down.
So for those that
Right.
don't know, when I first met Maliah, I had no idea how to do anything technical except answer a phone.
It's true. She has advanced so much. Now she can run her own streams, all kinds of stuff.
I can, and I'm a bit rusty because I went on holidays. Okay, we'll forget that. Okay, so you want to know about spirit places, is that right?
Yeah, let's get into that. That sounds fun.
Okay, so we have different layers of spirit places here because we've got the old traditional Aboriginal spiritual stuff. Then we've got when the settlers come and then they started doing stuff here and dying in buildings and places on the land. So we've got two layers where at one part it mixes together and then they're separate. So when we walk on the land here, we'll look first at our ancestors' spiritual places and where we can see our ancestors' spirits. And we'll either go there or not go there, depending on what the place is. So you can walk around. It happens a lot. You walk around, you'll see a lot of Aboriginal spirit people. In general population, you're right. When you go out into the country on the land and you see an Aboriginal spirit person, you have to be careful because it could be special land you're walking on and stuff like that. For us, we pay attention to that, but for the everyday person, they probably don't even know it exists. So then we go to the next level of when they might go to a pub or a hotel or an older place like that, what the settlers made. And there's a lot of them. There's so many pubs here that are haunted.
Cool.
Historical places, you'll see red soldiers, you'll see the higher gentry from the old age, Victorian stuff. There's so much of it, and it's just captured, and it's really clear, Maliah. I wish I could bring you over, and I wish you could stay here for 6 months so we just cover Sydney.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
we will.
That's not even going Outback and to other towns like Melbourne and Victoria, because Melbourne and Victoria are kind of more settled and older as far as modern day stuff go. And they've got a lot of old buildings that have spirits in them and stuff too. So it's quite rich. And because it's all new, it's not. We're only 200 and something years old as far as when the book came, so that's not very long. And because it's all new, all the spirits are still all active and everything. And we've got a lot of convict stuff. So there's a lot of old jails with heaps of spirits in it and stuff like that. And then if you go outside, you'll see the Aboriginal spirits too, because that's where it crosses over.
Yeah, that's what I was just going to ask you about. Is there some notorious prisons in Australia that are also kind of haunted or
Yes.
very
And
haunted?
I visited one. Oh, well, I actually didn't visit it. I'll tell you the story. So me and a heap of the other traditional Aboriginal aunties, we all went on a trip. And this particular day, there was a old prison. Oh, it would look like an old fort. Anyway, we all got off the bus and none of us would go in there. We were all standing outside. None of us. We looked through the gate and like it was so full of activity. You could see things go walking back and forth like this, and we all looked at each other.
Wow.
And we were like, we're not going in there. And for those that don't know much about Aboriginal people, a lot of us are just naturally gifted. And then it depends whether they seek it out or not. They'll just might wish to live a normal life or pursue a spiritual path. It's up to them. But in general, when you get in the community, they're all aware of all the basic spiritual stuff. Everybody is, yeah. So when we pulled up in the bus in the front of this prison that looked like a big fort and looked in the gate, we all saw the spirits running around. So we didn't go in, and we felt a lot of pain, and that's what pushed us away, right? We could feel the pain and the misery and the injustice. And I make jokes because the wall that they made on them prisons were really big, giant rocks, cut out rocks. And I said the government's skimping on funds because they don't build good walls like that anymore. They're just made of wire.
Right.
Anyway, so we didn't go in there because we knew that it was active and we didn't have to go in there to find out. But just outside of that, to the right, we all got drawn over to there because that was actually a site where the local Aboriginal people back in the day would call in, I think it was a killer whale or something like that. They'd call in whales and the whales would help them fish.
Oh.
Right, so while that was going on right there, they built this great big giant prison and put all the people in it, and it become haunted. So you'll find that a lot when you come to Australia. You have one thing like that, a haunted jail, and right next to it you'll have something traditional where our people used to do stuff, and they're right next to each other. So we could see both spirits, but yeah, no way are we walking into a haunted jail. No way.
What are some of the reasons that you would discourage people from doing these kinds of things? What could happen?
Okay, so one, the frequency of that energy is a low energy and you don't want it on you. And because of that low frequency energy causes what we call dark ones, dark spirit people. And then obviously when they died, they were full of horrible feelings. Most of them were convicts or people that were arrested and spent life in jail, and they treated them really, really bad back in the day, especially here in Australia. And they will attach yourself. So if you're a bright person, full of light and love and all that good stuff, you're like a torch, and they'll come straight to you because they'll feed off you, and they can go home with you. They can make you sick. They can do all sorts of things. They can cause you to have an accident, like they can just torment you. A myriad of things from a dark spirit could happen. That's why you just don't go there. And I know a lot of people go ghost hunting and that, but you need to shield yourself and clear your energy. And I feel like you're kind of antagonising them. And you've got to remember there's two things. There's the memory of the building, which replays like a movie over and over again, and then you've got an active spirit, which actually moves around and is kind of intelligent and knows what's going on. And a lot of the time, them places are active spirits still, because there's been no, I don't know how they buried them in them days, but I presume they didn't do it very nice, and there's no end for the spirit. There was no completion for the spirit. It was still, it's still wandering.
Now, are there places in Australia that only men go or only females go? Is
Yeah,
that's a thing, right?
yeah, it is a thing. Okay, so for us traditionally, we have men and women's business. So we have men and women's business, and we have community business where everybody comes together. But there are places where the men go and they go off and do their men's business, and it's none of our business what they do. And there's places where the women go and we do our business, and it's none of the men's business. However, when we do a ceremony, we do have an elder of the opposite sex in the distance balancing the energy, and it's the elders usually an old person that has lived a very rich life and they understand many things, so that's why they're there. A young person couldn't occupy that space.
Yeah. So it's
So
really like an equality and balance of the sexes. It's not like, oh, the male is higher and so he needs to have oversight of these things or something like that. It's more like, okay, you're the male energy. This is your vibrational frequency that it works in this spot, and same with the females, right?
yep,
Yeah.
yep, exactly right. So so if a woman goes to men's business area and is walking through the bush and doesn't know where she is, you will feel it. You'll either stop dead in your tracks, you'll either feel sick, or you'll get disorientated and the bush will actually start to move and close in around you, like they'll trap you. And
Wow.
I've experienced this
Wow.
myself when I was young. I had no idea where I was walking, and I found out later that was men's business area. And it was worse because I had a dog that was female, me, and I had my daughters with us. So it was a group of women. It was really strange. We all witnessed the bush just come over like that, cover the trail and trap us there. And it's like, I knew straight away where I was. I'm like, I'm sorry. I'm out of here. And if you're proper grateful and you do the right thing respectfully, they'll let you back out. And if you're not, you can get sick. You can have an accident on that spot. You can die. All sorts of bad things can happen. So if a man goes woman's area, the same thing happens. He can get sick. He'll just stop where he is. And I've witnessed that too. I've been walking in the bush with a heap of men and women, and we're walking along and all the men are talking, and so are us women. But what happened at a certain point, it was like an invisible line on the ground. All the men stopped at that line and they kept talking. They weren't aware that they actually stopped. They were still talking. Us women crossed the line and then realised the men weren't there, turned around and saw that they were standing at the line still talking. And it wasn't till we went, hey, you can't come here, they realised they'd actually stood still, if you can understand that scenario. And then they realised, oh, we're entering women's area, and they just waved at us and went the other way, and we went on our way. And we found birth in the area where the women had their babies and all, so it was beautiful. So I don't know where, normally the men's area is adjacent to the women's area somewhere, but I don't know where they went. I'm hoping they found men's area.
Well, this past week, that reminds me, we were talking about the Lake Woods monster, right, Walter?
The Flatwoods monster in West Virginia.
The Flatwoods. I thought I was getting a little wrong. But it made me wonder if there are any lore or history of automatons guarding certain areas, beings that shift interdimensionally set only to guard specific temples or locations.
Oh, yeah, well, for us, that's we call Bigfoot hairy man. We call Yowie hairy man.
Yowie, the Yowie. That's the word I was looking for.
They're natural guardians of sacred places and places inside the earth. They guard them, and they range from physical to spiritual form, which I suppose you'd call interdimensional because they're physical and non-physical. They do that, and that's well known. As for other animals, we have a lot of weird cryptoid kind of animals in the water and stuff. Whether they do it or not, I'm not sure, because their sightings are less than the hairy man, but the hairy man definitely guards places and can shift from physical, because there's different kinds. And they do.
Would you say the cryptids in the water are guarding the water?
I'm not sure, Maliah. I'm not sure whether, because you know how under the water, there's a lot of underwater tunnels and stuff like that, right? They travel for miles and miles, even, I believe, even to other countries, okay, and out to the sea, all places. Sometimes I think perhaps they got caught in there and they continued existing from a time before, or perhaps they know where the gateways are and they can shift from here to there. I'm not 100% sure, but these are possibilities because these things do exist. And looking at the animals in Australia, it's quite easy for something to be forgotten and left here and still continue to exist. It is quite easy for that. There's so many cryptids in that here. The water one, the Bunyip is one of the water ones, but there's another one, the Hawkesbury River monster. And that's actually not far from me, and it connects to the same water at the river where I live. And before I found out about this, and this is in our culture as well, this creature, I was actually swimming in that water once, and I'm swimming away, a beautiful summer day. It was my friend and a dog. And then, you know, when you're in the ocean and something's coming and you get that dread that says, get out of the water now, because there might be a shark coming or something. It was like that. And I'm thinking, I'm in fresh water. I'm miles away from the sea. We haven't got much fresh water things that hurt you. And they're not that big. But whatever I was feeling was huge because I put my senses out and I felt it was huge. And I just kept getting, get out of the water now, get out of the water now. So I got out of the water and I'm scratching my head thinking, what could be in a river that big that gives me that alarm? In the ocean, I can quite understand. So I didn't worry about it. And then not long ago, I met Donnie, who's an Anawan man, a traditional Aboriginal man. And he told me about the Hawkesbury River monster. And I said to him, I was in the water, and I think it was there. And with a little bit more education, there's actually a rock near that place that I was, and they've carved it into the rock to tell you that that creature lives in the water.
Oh,
so it's
cool.
still there today. Yeah, it's still there.
Yeah.
Yeah. What just occurred to me, I wanted to ask you, because I've never heard about this era in these kind of stories before. But when England and the Europeans started bringing folks over to Australia, you know, they're the either people that are looking for a new frontier, or as we know, the ones they didn't want. You know, kind of like here in America, it was a lot of the ne'er-do-wells. It's like, yeah, okay. But are there? What about the stories about during that era when, you know, the folks from the, you know, the now UK, from Great Britain and from Europe first went to Australia?
Yes.
What did they encounter? What did they report?
Yes.
And what are some of the stories about the cryptids back dating to that time?
Okay, so all up and down from the north to the south, there are stories like that going back. I'll just recollect my memories. So we have a place, I'll start with up north. We have a place where there's these mountainous rocks, and they're giant stones, and they all make this big mountain. There's a story about two brothers that were giants, and they had a competition. That's the story of how it got there. But it's actually a really sacred place to us. And they tell you not to go there because there's things that live in there. And when the settlers first come, they were on their horses and they went out there, and everyone that went out there started going missing. Then they'd send someone else out there to look for them, and they'd go missing. The cattle would go missing, and the cattle drivers would go missing. They sent police out there to look for them. They went missing. So that was documented, and it's that well known not to go out there looking in the caves out there or anything, because you will go missing. And there were stories that a young man, I think he chased his horse, and he followed it in the cave, and he went in a bit, and he heard something, and he saw a kind of creature with hair on it, and he ran back out. He was lucky. Apparently, he was lucky that he survived and told that story, because everyone else just disappeared. So that starts up there, and as we come down, there was sightings of what they'd call the Bunyip and stuff. I don't think they knew what to call it. They would have just called it a creature. They would have seen the hairy man. There's sightings of that. We're okay. Wow, there's so much. I've actually got a map. I actually got a map of all the cryptoids they reckon they've seen, because we've got like mountain lion things. So that when they went over the mountains here for the first time, they would have encountered our marsupial. What are they called? Marsupial. I've got a note here. Marsupial big cats, and they're left over from another time. We've got apparently a big black panther kind of thing as well, and there's sightings of them all throughout history from when they first come. What else have we got? We'll move down south. As we move down south more, you've got more hairy man sites. A lot of the others, like there's a lot of sites of seeing stuff in the sky going from way back then as well. I'm trying to think, what have we got? So plenty of the hairy man. We do have other creatures that the Aboriginal people know about, but not many. Excuse me if I say white fellas, I don't mean that as a bad way. It's just that's how. I don't think they've met a lot of them from our old stories, but I have heard stories in Europe about these creatures, and I'm like, oh, they're our creatures. What are they doing over there? Like, you know, the long, tall, skinny guy. What's he called? You call him Slender Man? Well, actually, yeah, we have them. They stand behind the trees, and they're long, tall, skinny people, and they're actually our friends, and they look after us. Okay. And you'll find this interesting, Walter. You've heard about the little blue beings, the little roundly coloured blue beings.
I think so.
People have written them in UFO stories and that.
Okay.
Well, them blue beings, we have stories about them too, but they're not our friend. The tall, skinny, slender people actually protect us from those blue others, yeah. And I don't know, I haven't spoke to anyone that's come in contact with them. We have other things. How do I explain this? All right. So we have spirit things. People, they'll think they're spirit things, but they're those things that can be solid and spirit, and they run into them in the bush. I don't know what they think of them. They just call them devil spirits or something, or evil spirit. A demon is probably what you would call them modern day. They're out there. That's why you're supposed to have a fire in the bush, and the women don't go out without two women. You can't go out one woman in the bush at night by yourself. You've got to have two women because of these things that live out there. I'd have to do, I think if I did a little bit of homework, Walter, I could actually come up with some articles from old newspapers of what people have encountered in the past. And when I got a bit of time, I might do that and throw them your way so we can have a look at some of them. That'd be really interesting.
Yeah, that sounds interesting.
There's always things, yeah. And so much so that when the settlers first come, after a while, they kind of got the gist of some of the places that you don't go to. You know what I mean? Okay. People will still go there. There's always those people that will go there. But in general, you'll go to that town and they'll go, oh, don't go out to that place, you know? And if they tell you don't go to that place, don't go out there, because they won't talk about it as much, but it's still happening.
Yeah. Is there one particular... Now, Australia is the unique place that it's a country and a continent, correct? Am I remembering? Yeah. Right. It's a country, but also its own continent. Is there any place down there that Australians it's just too far out, it's just too scary, that they just won't go to? Are there any regions like that it's like, oh, heck no?
Yeah, mostly out the desert area and across the Nullarbor. When you cross the Nullarbor, there's nothing out there. People, you've got a plan to cross it, and people get stuck out there. You don't deviate from that road, because right near it, these caves that go right underground. People go missing, people die. Everyone knows that. Yeah, and if it's not something other than a bad human being on the road, yeah, everybody knows that. You'll be careful out there on your own, out in the desert by yourself. They know. Everybody knows. I don't know about the people that come to visit Australia, but all the locals know. You know, you don't go out there by yourself. And we do have a place called, I think it's called the Warren Bungles. It's like a mountain range, but it makes a circle. Now, everybody knows that if you go to visit there, you can go for maybe a week, but if you stay too long, it'll start to affect you, and all weird things can't start happening. And everybody knows about that too. What else have we got?
Tim reminds us of one of our favorites, Luna, the Min Min lights.
Oh, the Min Min lights, yeah. So, yeah, when you see them, you don't follow them. You stand still and hide because they'll come and take you away. So there's a set of 3 lights. Whether they're an entity or they're the others, visitors, no one knows for sure. We just know to stay away from them. And everybody's seen them, from my people from ancient times to modern day. Like probably a month ago, somebody would have saw them. Everybody knows about the Min Min lights when you go out country. And I'll keep pointing behind me. The reason I keep pointing behind me is behind me is the mountain range where you go over the mountain to all the country. Right, I'm at the bottom of that mountain range. So I point behind me because it's just behind me. Once you get over there, you're into the open inner country of Australia, and it goes from bush to desert. And it's, you can spend a long time travelling. So that's why I'm pointing behind me when I refer to the country. That in front of me is Sydney and the ocean. If I travel for an hour or such, yeah. So that way's the city, that way's the country. But yeah, there's lots of places like that. And each town, like I said, will have its little place. If you know the stories or the locals, they'll tell you there's a place not to go and there's a place, you can go look and all here, but watch out when you go there. For whatever reason, whether it's the visitors or cryptids or and they won't always say to you exactly why. It might be even a hotel, like they'll go, you're staying in that hotel tonight, okay, and they won't tell you exactly why. They'll just let you stay there.
Right.
Yeah, most of the old hotels have something in them. You can go there for lunch. Yeah, if you just go there for lunch and walk around, you'll see them. So what else have we got, Juicy? And back up to the mountain.
Okay.
The UFO, we have a lot of UFO up the mountain. It's very highly active, highly active. Yeah.
How so? Is it like disappearances, cow mutilations, or what kind of, reports are there?
Disappearances. There was a story that a group of young people went up a road and they encountered something. And when the police found their bodies, they were messed up, mutilated, and they hushed that up really quickly. Obviously, why? Disappearances. Even just in front of me, there's a road, a big long road on the other side of the river. People have travelled that road at night and they've said they've been followed by lights coming up behind the car and they've all got scared and stuff, and they've drove really fast to get away from. And that's just there at the bottom of the mountain. So this whole area is active. What else has happened? Disappearance, sightings. My husband even witnessed something. We were up there at the mountain, sitting on a cliff face, because there's a place up there with a cave and there's a cliff, this beautiful place. We were just sitting on the cliff face, and on the left-hand side was just a sheer wall of rock. And we're just sitting there looking off in the distance down the valley, and all of a sudden from the right, just in front of us, goes shoo, this silver ship just comes past us real slow and silent, like this, and then just disappears into the sheer face of rock. And we just sat there for about a minute, and then we looked at each other and went, "Did did you see that? Yeah, I saw that. You saw that? Yeah, it was real. Okay. And then we sat there for like, I don't know how long, just absorbing. Well, I don't know what happened. We could have done missing time or anything at that moment because we never had a timing machine on us, a watch or anything. So, yeah, but we just sat there and then we went, okay, it's time to leave. It was so calm. It was weird and eerie. But a lot of I can get like a half a dozen friends. They live up the mountains. They'll tell you stuff. Yeah, we were sitting there one night and this happened. There's a lot of that. It's like it's so often we don't even bother talking about it. Yeah. So, yeah.
Now, a lot of your cryptids and stuff will actually get mentioned in your local TV shows and things, right? It's a pretty common occurrence to like have a show that's talking about a bunyip or something like that.
They kind of make a joke about it, yeah. They'll put it on, they make a joke about it, like, hey, like we know it's real, but
yeah. I've seen them in like Australian cartoons and stuff. Just
there was even an ad. I've got an ad for water tanks. And in the background, there's a hairy man walking off in the distance.
Nice.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it's like a jovial thing. But I think underneath they all know it's real. And, yeah, if you get them out there facing it, they'll go, yeah, it's real. I'm not going. I'm not going.
Right.
Yeah. But on the surface, you know, we're all tough Aussies. I've seen the biggest man get scared from stuff out there. Truly, I have. And I've just laughed at them because I'm used to it. But they weren't. Yeah. And I'm like, it's going to be all right. It's going to hurt you. Yeah.
Well, what are you thinking there, Walter? I see the wheels turning.
I'm just listening. I'm just listening.
Yeah.
It's because you're down there in a very interesting part of the world. You're close to Antarctica, you know, and all that implies. And because we were talking earlier, you know, everybody knows the zoology of Australia is so wildly different from, it seems like, from any other part of the world that, you know, there's long been that discussion about, you know, how many of the species you have there actually existed in what we call prehistoric times, right? And or there's the other discussion I've heard in the cryptozoology field, or among enthusiasts with that whatever world is under that ice down in Antarctica is reflected in, you know, Australia in its you know, its animal life, its zoology, and maybe even some of the places you're talking about. I mean, it seems possible that, and I don't know, is this a popular topic? Could it be the survivors of whatever happened to that civilization that we know in Antarctica? Could they have made it to Australia, or was there a colony of that civilization in Australia? I think that's an interesting consideration. Is there any talk like that down there?
For those that dare, yes. Those that dare to venture there, yes. And I'm one of those people. I've looked into it lots. I've looked at it. Oh, hang on a minute. We actually broke off from Antarctica, and whatever was on that land was on our land. And then once it broke off, obviously it started to develop, and they got frozen. And we were left with whatever, and it started to develop. Because a lot of the creatures, a lot of the things we have, I'm just looking at this map thing here I have, a lot of giant birds. And remember how I said we had giant kangaroos? Because we had a lot of giant marsupials. We didn't have a lot of like dinosaur meat eater things. We had, so we got goannas. And though, if you can imagine a giant goanna, that was our dragons, okay? And they just shrunk. But honestly, today, if I showed you a real goanna, you'd go, wow, that's huge. But it's a shrunken one. So everything that we have here, if you imagine it bigger, that's what we had. Everything was like that. huge.
Okay.
And we had the couple of meat eaters, but not many. The giant marsupial lion, we had some giant birds which would probably eat meat, like eat us.
Well, you still have giant spiders.
Yeah.
The huntsman, I mean,
They're not
you've got
giant.
the biggest freaking spiders ever.
They're not giant. Then when you look at some of the animals, like the platypus and that, they're really, really strange put together kind of animals that have to come from somewhere weird and old, which would probably be Antarctica in the old days. So I look at it on that level, and then I look at practicality, Walter, like buildings and stories from our people and stories from the settler of things they found. And when I hear them stories, there were things here that my people didn't build because they were like parts of buildings, you know, and pieces of things that come from other places. Now, we did trade with other people in our history from all countries before the English came, but there were actual things, they stayed here for a while, must have made stuff. There's even an account when the English first came here, there was an account from some rich guy. He asked the soldiers, what manner of a place is this? Because he saw buildings, there were buildings, right? And we didn't make them. So it's quite interesting. And I've gone up to the mountains quite often. And one day I sat there and I asked what was here. And as it overlaid and it came open, I saw like a city, man. What I saw wasn't right for this place. And I was wondering, is that the future I'm saying, or is that the past? And I really think it was the past. And we talk a lot about.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Right. We talk a lot about the our ancestors and our creator beings and that. And then when I listen to stories in Europe about, I don't know, the Anunnaki and all that stuff, right? These other beings. When I listen to our stories, I think, is that what they're talking about? Are these the beings they're talking about? And there's still places in Australia where these beings still come, right? And if you're blessed in that, you can still see them, and they'll come and visit you. And that, I wonder too, Walter. So I get so far, and then I got a question mark as well. I'd love to go back in time, but there's so much things pointing to that, and a lot of our sacred places have those things in them. And
now, I've been telling our audience, our regulars here, about how you and I bring or have been working together with scientific remote viewing. And I think that really leads into it. And how, but I want to start with Walter. Can you give a quick review of the general dynamics of what is scientific remote viewing, how we apply it, you and I, and how we're finding that it's benefiting our research in these kind of ways? 3 questions.
Well, I was taught informally, not through Lynn Buchanan or the other guys that have actually been directly involved with Project Stargate and all that here. I was taught independently by a guy who had learned the Ed Dames method. And Ed Dames is probably the most controversial figure in the whole world of remote viewing, because he was not a viewer that was officially on the team. He was kind of on the administrative, operational support staff, if you will, not just administrative, but and he's kind of a controversial figure himself. And he basically came up with a protocol that was of his own design based on the authentic original protocols. And there is authenticity to it, up to a certain basic point. And that basic protocol is still used by a lot of folks out there. But I think that remote viewing is something that we're all, to one degree or another, depending upon how open you are, how developed you are, that we're all capable of doing, of course, because it's something that is just really SRV, scientific remote viewing, is applying a formula, a protocol to a natural human ability, right? To focus it and to discipline it. And I think that's very worthy and valuable to have that focus and discipline. And Maliah and I have been using the just kind of the basic protocol that I've been talking about, where you pick it's a double blind. You have a list of targets, and another person applies the numbers, the target numbers, 6 digits, 4 digits, whatever you want to use, to each item on the list, and then the viewer is just given the number, right? They have no idea what that number represents, and your subconscious goes out there into the ether, and I like to think of it as your subconscious is going to the mange point of the ether out there, of reality. And what is that? That's the intersection of all possible planes of time and space, and it's the point where they all intersect. And I think that's where you can best see with your subconscious and really get the data. So that, in kind of a large nutshell, is the way to describe what we do, with it. And again, it's as we all know, remote viewing is a controversial topic. But personally, I've been convinced there's something to it, because there's just no way you can get some of the data if there was nothing to it. If it was all nonsense. I mean, there's people in our community that just, they just write it off and they say it's all a scam and such. And they honestly don't know what they're talking about. They've just decided that there's nothing to it. And that's okay, to each his own. But I was convinced a long time ago, when I first started doing it back in 2007, that there is something to it, if you do it honestly. But it's even more interesting when you get more than one person using the double blind number system, and they're getting the same data, right? So anyway, I hope that answers the request.
And how would you say that you and I have been able to apply it in our current research?
Oh,
We found some things, right?
yeah. Well, you forgot. I don't talk details.
I know. I'm trying to draw it out.
Which thing in particular? Give me.
Rosasco, Frank Rosasco. We just did an RV on Rosasco.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
right. I think we found some great details. Luna remote viewed Rosasco as well.
Right.
She got the same number. And just to clarify, so I'm the monitor. I assign numbers to the targets. I double blind myself. So once those numbers are there, I use a random string generator and try and keep it as random as possible. And then I take only the numbers and put them on a graphed sheet of paper randomly. I put them, I don't do them in order or anything. And then I take the list of what each number actually is. I don't look at that again, because I put down on another small sheet of paper the number on one side and what it correlates to on the other side. Those I put away in an envelope and I don't look at until we're at the point of selecting. So when I select, I only look at the number. I don't look at what's behind it. You get a big enough stack of those, your psyche's not going to remember which number correlates to which one. So then we draw randomly on top of that. So when I give these two their numbers to RV, short for scientific remote viewing, we call it RVing. I don't know what that number correlates to either until they've given back to me what they got, and then I share with them what the target was. So oftentimes, most times, more often than not, both of you guys will come back and say, I'm so bad at this. I don't know what the heck it is. I'm just, and so we go through it, and it's usually just like right, right on. I mean, one of our most recent ones, you ended up viewing the exact town, village location and pointed an arrow directly to it. And so, in that number, when we revealed it, we were looking for an exact location of Rosasco's where he lost his mind, right, Walter? And you just remote viewed that one as also. So,
Yeah.
do you want to share with us a little bit what we found so far?
Yeah, because that's for those who don't know, in the Empire of the Wheel books, my trilogy, one of the really next to the mysterious Cora Stanton, and most of you know who I think she was. And what happened to her is this gentleman, Frank Rosasco, who literally was arrested on a train in San Bernardino that was bound for Barstow, and he had lost his mind. He was hallucinating, and he was taken from the train right to county hospital and committed to the psych ward there. And then the mysterious friends from Sonora came, and he was handed into their custody. And he spent the next 58 years of his life every day doing mathematical calculations, doing astronomical observations, and surveying some particular feature or spot on the family ranch. These are the three activities that consumed him every day for the remaining 58 years of his life. And I was able to talk to a family member a few years ago, and he asked his it was his mom or his grandmother. I think his mom, because he's a little older than me, and it would have been his mom. And she told him, "Oh yeah, Uncle Frank went down to San Bernardino and lost his mind. That's where he lost his mind." But I wasn't able to get more info about that, and so it's a big, huge mystery in the Empire of the Wheel stuff. And so that's why we decided, okay, let's remote view things about him. And you and I each, Luna, got interesting data on the question, and there's still much more to get.
Well, I had no idea, Walter, what you just told me. I'm like, oh, because I use my tracking skills now. I got that information. We need to talk.
Yeah.
For me, that way of remote viewing was so foreign. I've never done anything like it. And as I said to Maliah, thank you, because I like to exercise my gifts and try new things out to see if I can do them. And this was one of them. I've never done anything blind. I've always tracked it down. You can, and to find that, that I do all right is a really good thing to know. And I want to do more because I love it. I love remote view, and I just had nothing good to use it on.
Yeah.
And I do believe that we all have these gifts. Is that the fella? Oh, right.
Oh no, that's a guy named O.H. Bailey, that gentleman there, and he was a map maker, and one of the 7 victims in the original Empire of the Wheel mystery was also named O.H. Bailey. And in the book, I discussed the possibility that the victim, O.H. Bailey, might have just been using that man's name. And by the first book is chock full of mystery. And the second book, really pulling those threads, really takes it beyond. And, of course, by the time you get to the third, but we're already at the hour point. Should we go to questions from the live chat, Maliah? You ready for some questions, Luna?
Yeah.
Okay, folks. Remember, please put your questions in all caps if you want them to be asked or your comments acknowledged, all caps. And stay on topic also. Thank you. So any questions,
I'm going to jump up here and grab some comments that were
Do
just
it.
great. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Definitely, I agree.
Sometimes. Yeah, sometimes you'll get one that actually, I'll tell you a quick story. People from overseas always say, have you got kangaroos jumping up and down the streets? And I'm thinking, no, not really. And I have to say yes, because after someone asked me about 2 weeks, we were driving down the road and we're at the satellites and a kangaroo jumped across the satellites. So yeah, we have kangaroos jumping occasionally. Well, they shouldn't be.
Oh,
Lion Brian wonders, maybe the future and the past is interchangeable.
Yeah, I believe so.
I think so. I think that's a very interesting consideration, possibility. That's something that, and that could explain things like the Mandela effect. Oh, we got our question for Luna here. Craig Freeman asked, "Does Luna know about Dylan Goolies?"
I know about Gulligars, and if that's anything near it, Gulligar, Dylangulis. I'm not sure of the language because you've got to realise there's a heap of different languages for each mob. But the Angolis, Dylangulis, and Gulligar, perhaps it's the small hairy man, because we got big ones, small ones, and got a variety of each kind. And it could be them. I'm not 100% sure, like I said, because I'm not sure of the language and where it comes from. But I'd say it might be a little hairy man.
Okay. Ari Babel says, "I recall something about a site with Viking runes or rock paintings. Is that,
Yes.
you know about Viking runes down there?"
Yeah. Actually, I have a friend, Maliah knows him, Sid. He's a Viking. He can trace his lineage back to the year 500. And I have really good discussions with him about our mobs. And I asked him, do your mob came here, eh? And, yep. So, yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I
Yes.
said we do with people.
Our mutual friend Sid, the crazy Viking. Yes.
He's fair. I think a lot of
He's
us
nuts.
He's crazy.
No, he's a lot of fun. He has the greatest accent. And we talk a lot about his runes and discovery of all kinds of stuff.
And they have the Seven Sisters as well. Everyone knows we've got Seven Sister story in Australia. The Vikings have Seven Sister story as well. And there's so much like this in common. Because that's what I've done. I've reached out and went, okay, where is my culture in the world? Where is it met with another culture where it's that old? And I'm finding it. So it's, we did liaison with other. So, okay.
999 asks, what do you think of the Gosford glyphs that are purportedly Egyptian?
Very controversial here, both in Aboriginal and non-Aboriginal mobs. Very, very controversial. Some say yes, some say no, on both sides. All I can say is that they're in a real hurry to cover it up right now because it's out in the world. Before it was all hushed up and only we knew about it. Now it's out in the world. They're covering it up. They want to get rid of it. Usually when they want to get rid of something is because it's real. They don't get rid of things that aren't real. They'll charge you to go and see it.
Right.
That was a question I was going to ask earlier. I'm glad you brought that up because here we have the Smithsonian Institution that has lied very often to the public about, things like this, ancient relics and stuff. And I was going to ask you if you guys had your historical and archaeological authorities that lie to you guys.
Yes, we do. And this particular story, because I dug back into old newspapers and that as far as I could, Australian ones, I found a newspaper story. So going back to that road I told you about on the other side of the river, that strip where a lot of people see a spaceship following them on the road, that area, when the settlers first came, and this guy bought all that area to make for his cows, because he was a free rich settler when he came here. He was clearing his land, and he said, and it was written down, when he was clearing his land, he came across a stone altar that was Egyptian. and then they just he destroyed it, right? Because you can't have that kind of history because the English were here. Okay, no offense to English people, and that was, that's just over the other side of the river. So that gives credence to that other story. Make your own mind up.
Yeah.
There's Bunyip in your billabong.
So, D. Dorothy says, asks, Tony Bushby was Australian and wrote about Egypt and the Maori. Have you come across him? Tony Bushby?
No, I haven't actually. No.
We'll have to remember that name and look him up.
I will. I'll just jot that down actually. I'll have a look into that. Thank you very much. I like to cross-reference all these things. And okay.
Yes, Mondwes. Luna is amazing in so many ways. Her psychic abilities are among the highest I've ever met. It's true. We're pretty connected. You were one of the first people I ever knew that was like, oh, I can see you. And I meant see that I had traveled to stand next to you and show myself. And that was beautiful. And, your healing abilities, we do card readings together where Luna has these fun little animal cards, and we gained so much understanding in the spiritual world by both of our energies transmitting. And we've known each other now for several years. It's been a bit. One of the, if you could say anything good that came out of the CVID, it was us coming together closer, as a group and as an entity, as a whole, as those who said, no, this is who we are. You've pushed it to the edge, and so, yeah, I think that this has been a amazing thing. Luna is too special.
This question is an example of why people know each other for 44 years. Brian's asking a question I thought of too, so I'm glad he asked it. Is it possible that a number of cryptids and spirit and fairy folk came down attached to the immigrants and others coming to Australia from other parts of the world? I was going to ask you that too. That's a good question.
Yeah, actually, that's something I'm really passionate about. Yes, we do have things that have come over. Not only that, we kind of have, it's not a problem, but I tell people to beware. So the people that come from other places and brought everything with them, and they're spiritual, and they come here doing their spiritual stuff, they have to be careful because, one, they don't understand men and women's business and the way we work. And I tell them, get to know us. So if you want to do, you need permission to do your spiritual work, one, and you need to know us because you can't do that spiritual stuff just anywhere. It could be detrimental to you. If you tell us, we'll say, yeah, go here. This is a good place to do that. And a lot of the time they come here, do their stuff without permission, or they're dark people and they come to do dark things. And that has repercussions, and it's got nothing to do with us. It just speaks in the land, and the ancestors take care of that. But yes, I reckon things have come over. And they probably ancestors of the things that were already here, and they probably got together and went, hey, you're from this branch. I remember you in our lineage. They call fairy folk. We don't call it fairy, but we have little people, like, you know what I mean? We have similar with different names. So I imagine they would be related. If you go back in history, once they were all related, and then they moved just like us people. That's how I see it. And as spirits, in spirit world, there are no fences and there are no boundaries.
Sure.
So when, say, if how can I explain this? So if you have a relative that's passed away and you know me, and I have a relative that passed away, them two relatives are going to meet in spirit world and go, hey, we know them too, like, we'll talk about us. There are no boundaries. Yeah, so the spirits in Europe and the spirits here talk, believe me.
Okay. Yeah, they do. I'm convinced that my dad and my uncle, who was my mentor, I'm convinced that they're up there having a great time messing with me every day.
Oh yeah, yeah. Jake is constantly giving you a hard time.
It's like with him and my dad together, and I'm sure Brian's dad is up there laughing, enjoying it.
Brian's drinking his beer.
They're all three like, hey, let's mess with him. Nick N says, I have heard that there are vast wild areas the general public is not allowed to go in. Is this true?
All right, so yeah, but there are places like Woomera or places where the government has stuff going on that land. You're not allowed in there because they're doing stuff.
Well, you know, a lot of people don't know that the United States has space program sites down there. They've had them since the Apollo days and before. Mercury, I'm sorry, yeah.
Yeah, Pine Gap and Woomera, they're the two major ones that have come off the top of my head, and they're vast areas. And believe me, I've been near them, Walter. When you go near them, you can feel it. You get this, it's not a nice feeling. Whatever's in there, I felt it once before in another place, but that's another story. But it's here, and it's at Woomera and Pine Gap, and the feeling, not a good feeling.
Gap, yeah, that's the known one, right?
So you can't go there; they'll pick you up. But anywhere else, you can go out. You can go out in the desert and out in the wilderness, but you might get lost.
Oh boy! D. Dorothy has one of the Bushby books. We'll get info from her, the title or something for you. Yeah. And Deninsky asked, "Did you ever meet Rex Gilroy?"
No, but I remember when I was a young wee lass, he used to be on our regular TV, and you can still get his information in that. But yeah, I remember him as a young one, but I've never met him personally, no.
Okay. And Jackie Ann asks, what is Luna's feeling about the Australian Stonehenge site Mullumbimby?
Oh, Australian Stonehenge, yes. There was controversy about that too. So when they got it, again, when the settlers got here, a farmer, he was allocated all this land, clearing the land as they do. He come across this, told the authorities, they decided to get rid of it as soon as possible. Again, why would they get rid of it? Because they don't want people to know. There are stories of local mobs, Aboriginal people, they know about it. And yeah, it's like, they call it Stonehenge because it was arrangement of rocks. And I've actually had a picture of what someone supposedly said that it would have looked like. And it was kind of round with a tail, like a walkway into that circle. What they did, the rocks are actually still there. You can go out on the person's property. They knocked it all over and stacked them up. And so they're all still stacked there. You just don't know exactly where they were or how they were arranged. But yeah, it's real, it's true. But no, only the farmer saw it and our ancestors. So, okay. And as far as what it is, and that obviously we all know they're all over the world. It's like the pyramids, we've got them too, they're all over the world. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
So, Maliah, you want to grab a few from live chat?
Yeah. I'm going to jump all the way ahead to Flying Brian here because this is a definitely relative. We've talked about this, Walter.
Yes.
Some of the different interesting telescopic observatories stationed in that region and their uniqueness in certain times of year and windows of time that they go to make those observations.
Oh, yes. I forgot about that. The Kuiper.
Yeah, that's what it's called.
Yeah, the Kuiper Observatory. That's the one, I think we told Luna about this before, that once a year had its mission to fly down to New Zealand, and it would fly the skies down there between Australia, New Zealand, and Antarctica, and watch a part of the sky, the night sky, that can only be seen from that part of the world. And that was their mission for several years. And I got to go on board this thing, and it was a NASA identified aircraft with NASA markings, and it had an astronomical mission. At least that's the public mission that we're aware of. But when I went on it, the crew was all military. It was all if it might have there might have been Navy guys, but there were definitely Air Force guys. Everybody on that plane, even the ones dealing with the telescope. I'm sorry, were in military flight suits, and they had military haircuts. They weren't civilians. So I thought that was interesting. Of course, a lot of Americans don't know that it's a Department of Defense agency. A lot of Americans don't know that NASA is first a defense agency, but they do so much civilian science that people tend to forget that, and that's why they hide stuff from us. If they think about it, there's a lot of people say, "Oh, NASA doesn't hide anything from us." It's in their charter. I promise you, if they find anything in any of their explorations, be it the moon or Mars, and it has any national security or national of interest to national security intelligence here in the States, guess what? The DoD says you will not share that publicly. So if the Apollo missions did find ruins or relics that somebody else had been up there or is up there, our DoD could say to NASA, no, you will not reveal that to the public. Same as for Mars. So that's why I lean towards, I'm sure you've heard this ridiculous discussion we have here in the States that, NASA didn't go to the moon. It's just mind-bogglingly stupid. My thing is, of course we went. We probably went more times than the public knows. Where the lies, well, not lies, where any cover-up or secrets, let's call it secrets, is, I think, in the details of what they found up there. That's the nature of the stuff I think they keep from us, and that's why that's a big reason why installations, Pine Gap and others, are so secretive like that. It's because they are U.S. DoD affiliated. So, anything DoD affiliated, it's going to have its clamps, in it. Yeah. But anyway, that was a sidetrack. Sorry.
Uluru.
What do you
well, that's how, for me to answer that, because for our people, it's a very, very sacred place. It's the heart of everything, and so much so that when we go there, it's our heart that it activates upon. But I do have to say to people that everyone looks at Uluru, but around Uluru there's more. All I can say, you know how they do it? They get you looking over here because they don't want no one looking over here. That's all I can say. Yeah.
I agree.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and Ayers Rock, we've talked about Ayers Rock several times. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's a men's place. Only men were allowed to go up there. But obviously the visitors come, everybody went up there. They stopped that now. You're not allowed to go there anymore, which was a good thing, because quite spiritual place. A lot of spirit energies and ancestors around there. Here's a funny story. When I went, I obviously didn't climb it, and I sat down on this bench, and there was a spirit next to me. He was a white Australian guy. He went to visit Uluru and had a heart attack, and I said, why are you still here? He goes, I love it here. And he sits on the bench all the time, and I'm like, wow, this is interesting.
Cute. And yeah, I've encountered someone like that up in Scotland. I was like, why are you still here? Because this is my castle.
I like it. Yeah, it's like, I'm not going to say anything.
Okay, I'm not going to contradict you. I believe you. You're big enough.
Yeah, Uluru's special. It's like, I know, I see it as the battery of everything weird in Australia.
Yeah. Yeah, the battery. That's a good way to describe it.
Yeah, battery of everything weird. When you go out there at the I went there recently again, and it has changed. It's like corporate money and stuff have taken over. So you've got this battle of traditional stuff and modern corporate stuff, and they're battling And Walter, offline, I could go into real detail about what I saw up there. I can do that because this battle is real. It's a similar battle what the world's doing, but it's down there. It's really concentrated because of the energy of the place. It's like a control thing. We want it. We want to control the energy. No, you can't. It's ancestral energy. That's what I saw. But I saw lots of detail in there. And the magic people there are very strong and fierce and at war, kind of. So there's stuff happening there. And Pine Gap's not far from there.
Yeah, the chat keeps saying Pine Gap. That's for sure. Definitely.
That's all it is.
Yeah.
We still got a few minutes for some more questions and comments.
And I can talk forever about this.
It's another.
Oh, yeah. You can't even get in there.
That's interesting. I'd never heard that about Pine Gap.
Mount Warning. Yeah. Yeah, Mount Warning. You know, it's like Fern Gully when I first saw it. It's like it's true. It's like, wow, that's kind of true. That's weird.
Yeah. Yeah.
A very special place up there. I spent time that way, up that way.
Wolf Creek.
Oh, the Wolf Creek crater.
A spiritual or paranormal place, people's accounts of the lands around it seem to indicate it is sacred among people who are close.
Okay. Yeah. So you should know Wolf Creek as the movie where Wolf Creek and that guy killed people. They reckon he was a lizard man from the lizard people. We believe in that, by the way, the lizard people. And that's where they live, out in the desert. So, this one I said before, a lot of these places are special to us. They're spiritually charged, or there might be a doorway there, or the old things live there still. There's a reason. It'd be one of those reasons. It would be a ceremonial area. And depending on the nature of the frequency of the energy, it could be good or bad, because we have good places and bad places. You've got to remember that too. Mm-hmm. And out in the desert, there's different creatures than in the bush.
There you go, Walter. Yes.
Yeah, see, we went.
Yeah.
Darn fools.
Thank you.
There's a question down here from Craig Freeman.
I'm just going to get to that one next.
I once heard a choir sound when camping in the Hawkesbury. Can Luna talk about that? Yeah, this idea of the weird choir type sound, there's a story down in South America like that. But go ahead and tell us about Hawkesbury.
Oh, the Hawkesbury choir sound, like you can hear singing and stuff. The energy sings. Is that what he's saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can. We say the land will sing to you, right? It'll sing to you. And if
that's beautiful.
If you hear it singing to you, that's a good thing.
Okay.
Good thing. It'll even call you and sing to you. You could not even be there. It will sing to you, and you've got this urge. You have to go there. The land will do that.
That sounds like what the fairy folk do. Wow, they lure you with they urge you on to them with the wonderful music. Wow.
The land here will do that, because you have to go to its place. The land might want you to go there. You have to go to that place, and you'll see flashes of the land in your mind. You say, "I've got to go. I've just got to go."
Yeah, I think that's a little different than the Fae, because the Fae use glamoury to try and lure children into a trap, essentially, or is what you're talking about, right? This is a little different. The earth energy, like imprinting. It's time for you to go here. It's a timing thing. It's a imprint. One thing I've noticed, and I remember telling you this too, Walter, when I was like, I want to take your tour. I got to see these Empire of the Wheel sites. Yeah. And it's that each one of us have really unique vibrations. I put my feet in a place, I get to absorb the wholeness of it. That's something, you're never going to capture from a video. I'm sorry, it can't happen. You don't have, you can't feel the wind, you can't smell the air. Everything is unique to that specific timing and moment. And what? Go ahead, Luna.
I was just I'm looking at the Hawkesbury area. You've got to remember there's hairy men and all that as well. There are things out there that will sing, but the land will sing. It's like what Maliah said, it's different to the singing. The land will sing you.
Yeah, I've totally experienced that up in Glacier Park in the high mountains. I've encountered areas where, or I just woke up in the morning and it was like, I know I need to get to this spot. I think I know how to get there. And it's, I start the journey and eventually I do find it. I usually go straight there and had never been there before, wasn't looking at maps or anything. It was just put in my mind, it's time to go here. And that's places where I encountered the singing of the land. We would call it in native.
Yeah. But there also are things that will sing, so you got to be careful.
There are things that will sing and lure in too. Yes.
It's always discernment. When anything happens, you always got to quickly go, is it this, is it that, is it this, is it that, is it this, and then bang, that's what it is. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. It's like being a detective.
999. Are the ley lines being maintained?
Okay, we call them song lines. We don't call them. We call them song lines because we sing them to maintain them. But yes, we do still have people that that's their job. Traditionally, tribally, is to walk along these lines and sing them to keep them alive. And then we do have people that think they know everything and come from overseas and go, oh, I'm going to walk the ley lines and sing them, and they muck it up, and then someone has to come and fix it because they don't know our song. They don't live here. They only come over and they know the song from their place, and they can stand on the ley line or the song line from their place on their land because the song is in your DNA.
And the longer that the native person isn't allowed to sing the song that walks along the ley line, it's the same over here, on those in other countries as well. I think it's a general, like you were saying, there are no borders in the spirit realm. This is the same principle on all lands. Is the longer that native isn't allowed to walk his native path, singing his native song to the earth, the longer that discord of the harmony being disrupted goes on for. And that discord is like, to me, it's just like negative ions versus positive ions. You have this overabundance of positive ions because your shaman is not being given the opportunity to walk on the land and sing his song.
They put churches, a lot of the cross points, they knew where they were and they put churches on them. And it's like, they know what they're doing. They knew what they were.
I'm one of the whitest Native Americans you'll ever meet because I'm Scotch-Irish Native American. I'm in there. Yes. So.
So they are being maintained on the quiet. It's someone's job out there to do it. And I've met a couple of them people. That's whose job it is. So they still happening.
So I think the didgeridoo. That's a kind of a man world, right? That's man world. So when we have Donnie on, we talk about didgeridoo stuff.
He'll tell you more about it.
Well, I think we have time for maybe one more.
Okay. I'm not sure on that one. Do you know, Walter? Yes or no?
Any stories associated with Bonjawarn where the Shinrikyo cult tested weapons prior to the that's
off topic, way off topic.
A bit, yeah.
Oh yeah, Yowie, hairy man, Yowie.
The Yowie, fractal despair. Off subject.
Picnic at Hanging Rock. Yeah, that's a film that's been out for decades.
Okay, that's not off subject.
And,
Fractal, that's not. You got it.
People disappear and you're not supposed to go there. And actually, if you have a look around the whole area, not just that one hanging rock, the whole area is like that. Yeah, it's a beautiful place, but
Pat Ryan's going to give you a hard time, Walter.
no, I'm not
Yeah. All right. Party over. Luna, thank you so much for joining us today and letting us interview you about your beautiful land and sharing. We will have you back. Definitely. Yes. Luna is one of our regular guests. Thank you so much for coming.
Everyone, hope you enjoyed it. I hope I answered all the questions. And you look deadly in black and white, and for us, deadly means
I love it. I don't mind it one bit.
I'm liking it. You know what? I did it the first time a few shows back because I was having such a hard time getting my white balance and lighting right in color that I just took out the saturation of the color. I'm like, hey, that works. The lighting is fine. So and it's a look. So I'm sticking with it. But yes, thank you for coming on, Luna, and gotta have you on, and I'm gonna drill down on a couple of the topics you brought up tonight because I find it fascinating. So we'll have even more questions next time.
Yes.
Okay.
Thanks, everyone.
Yellow.
Yellow.